If you're ever wondering what it's like shopping for video games in Anchorage, Alaska, well, I made a whole 30-minute video about that, but here is a short version, and let's get down to it. I will admit, it is kind of limited. It's not like the most extravagant video game shopping you're going to find in the whole United States. It's kind of limited. It's not that great, but we have a few locally owned independent shops to check out, and let's go to Video Game Depot first. This location is right off Spinard, and if you're from Anchorage, you know all about Spinard. It has a reputation. I like Video Game Depot. Every time I come here, I have a positive experience, and also every time I come here, I'm a little surprised. They always seem to be changing for the better. This is definitely the largest selection of retro games here in Alaska, and probably the largest selection of video games by a locally owned independent store in Alaska. I really like coming here. They have a lot of stuff for all the different consoles you can think of, retro or modern. It's really cool. But now we're going to go to the other side of town, more towards south side, and check out Glacier Games. And I've never been here, but I was pleasantly surprised. They had a small little selection of video games. I talked to the guy there, and he did admit video games are their last priority. They focus more on board games and card games and such, but still they have some good retro stuff. And last independent store we're going to is Ian's Game Paradise at the 5th Avenue Mall. Just like Glacier Games, I have never been here. I didn't know what to expect, but once again, I was pleasantly surprised. They have a few retro arcade games you can come in here and play. They have a small selection of modern games, but they mostly seem to be focused on older games and retro games. Also, keep in mind, GameStop closed down in the 5th Avenue Mall, so Ian's Game Paradise is the only video game store in the mall. You can also come say hi to Miyamoto. They have a portrait of him right there behind the cashier. All right, now we're moving on to a different category, thrift shopping. And our first location is going to be Tidal Wave. It's a cool little store. It's cozy. It's nice in here. They're mostly focused on books, but they do have a small selection of video games, and you just never know what you'll find. One time I found Far Cry 5 in here, and that's one of my favorite video games ever. And moving on, we're going to Value Village, and this is like a donation center, a thrift store, and their video game selection is pretty small. I didn't find anything worth value here. I didn't pick anything up. Now moving on, we're going to head on down to Goodwill, and I think there's a couple different locations here in town, and they have a decent selection of video games. They had a whole shelf dedicated just to video games. They had some modern consoles and some older consoles. They actually had a decent collection of Xbox games. I was surprised. There was more donation places and thrift stores in town. You just got to go find them yourself. But now we're moving on to the big corporation, big chain stores. And first is Fred Meyer, which is also Kroger. This is where I do most of my video game shopping to get gas points so I can save money on gas. And all the big corporations usually have the same electronic sections. They all look similar. Target, Best Buy, Walmart, Fred Meyer. And heck, if you have a Costco membership, you can head on down to Costco and you can save money on some bundles. And they even had the new Donkey Kong game at a discount. It was like $7 cheaper than the other stores. Now, I mentioned earlier that GameStop closed down in the 5th Avenue Mall, but we still have one at the Diamond Mall. And you know GameStop. I don't have to explain it to you. You either hate them or you love them. Yeah, you know what GameStop is.